And this will be called history in the next decade. When enough people die that know that it isn't history, all the money from the 9/11, billions, are going into the indoctrination of every American kid, learning the phony version of the 9/11. That's where it's going. I told you I went there, I found it out from the people that work there. Look it up on the net. And as long as the Americans listen to the Zionists, they'll be lost. All Americans, there won't be any more America. Kissinger was the original one that went around the world in '73 when the Arabs decided they want to have a little more money for their oil. He went around the world and he said, we will buy your oil and we will put ours under the ground. And they've got 200 years of oil in the Arctic now, capped. In the Arctic right now, there's enough oil for the United States for 200 years. They capped their own oil. Kissinger went around every country and he said, we will buy your oil, but you have to let us pay you in the Federal Reserve dollar. So that's something else they did to prop up this dollar here, which will assure that everybody on this globe will remain in slavery. Your history will be what they decide. Your children will do what they decide. Slaves. It's an invisible slavery, not so invisible now. And this is what they want, and they will do anything to keep it going. And they don't want any development bank like the BRIC that's charging them low interest. They don't want that. Now they're trying to get rid of Putin, physically get rid of him, get rid of Assad, get rid of any leaders that want any good to go to their people. They want a planet of slaves, and they've got the means to do it. They will never give up their printing machine. They print our money, and as a private group, they can charge interest on anything they print, okay? So it's all about the slavery under their dollar. Here's I'm just going to tell you now that if they have this war with Iran, and of course we'll be already Fukushima almost to death, this is what the little history here. Who benefits? The banks. Both sides are deeply in debt to the instigators of the war. And of course, interest-free nations were bombed to rubble in the other previous wars. The oil fields will be occupied. The U.S. shuts them down. They're not rushing in there. They're going to take the oil, but they're going to cap it too. Because oil is cheap as dirt. The whole globe is covered with it. It's filthy, primitive energy. And in order to save that dollar, they have to jack up the price of the oil. And in order to do that, they have to tell you there's peak oil. That's nonsense. Proven years ago, it's nonsense. The earth is like covered with oil. It's got nothing but that filthy oil, and Harper's selling the sticky stuff. I'd like to see him jump in a pool of it myself. See him get out of that. So they're telling everyone it's scarce. They're going to round up all this oil, cap it. They're going to keep enough going to keep it really high because all they have to back this phony dollar now, this oil is going to be a petrodollar, no gold. Nobody wants gold anymore. That's nonsense. Water is worth more than gold. If you had a freshwater lake, you had one up north somewhere and you were living there, and a guy comes up with a big 18-wheeler full of gold bricks and he says, look, you can have these, just give me your lake. What would you do? Water is worth more, much more than oil. And they know that. So they're not only over there just for oil, they're over there for water. And this crowd are what's running all of this. So they've got to pretend that oil is scarce. That's the other lie, so that they can charge even more. I remember when I paid 89 cents a gallon. I was driving around Florida, that's all I paid. It was back in about 1980, right up until almost 99. The oil wasn't that much money. 89 cents a gallon, I know what I paid. I had a 40-gallon tank. I had a Chrysler New Yorker. It was like, you know, and that didn't bother me at all. I was going around in that. And oil is just as cheap. It should be just as cheap now. It's only about this, okay, to prop up that phony dollar. So, the oil fields will be occupied. They're going to shut them down, which is what they're doing now. The oil price will go up because of that. All the weapons dealers are making a fortune because weapons dealers will sell to anyone. They don't care if their own country's being bombed. They'll sell more weapons. They don't give a damn. There's no loyalty here, okay? Loyalty to one group, that's it. So all public assets will be robbed by the invaders. This is what they're doing now. All publicly owned oil, whatever, will be robbed. They're going to have urban renewal contracts now. They are signed before the invasion. This guy, some people have tried to say, oh, you're so anti-Semitic. Yeah, I went out I dated Prince Faisal, I married a Jew. How anti-Semitic am I? Okay, so, and he said the same thing. He said, oh, all those contracts are signed. The corporations signed them all before the invasion. Oh no, you can't break your contract. It's done before we go in. All the public assets are taken, and the invaders write the history of the war. The winners always write the history. But they get to do that. The people who did 9/11 it's their version that's going into the schools in the US. That's their version, the ones who did it. Larry and that crowd, okay? That's what they're doing. So they're robbing the dead as well as killing them. They're assassinating their characters, and they're passing on, but the money that should go to the families of the dead is going to promote this indoctrination of their big lie. So in 20 years, these kids will believe this lie, okay? That's what they're doing, that's where the money's going. It's even horrible. They're dead and now they're gonna be robbed again, okay? So that's what they're doing there. And of course, the invaders get to test all the new weapons. There's all kinds of weapons now that can put voices in your head, or from a distance that can cause you intense pain. They all get tried out in the war. It's lovely. The weapons companies love it. All the free guinea pigs, and then all that's going on. The stock markets soar. The stock markets don't deflate when people are being murdered, killed, and countries are being destroyed. They go up. The big casino, it goes up, okay? Because they're going to get their way. And of course, in the First World War, the Serbian assassin was paid by Britain, okay? That's the First World War. And remember, when Lincoln was assassinated, it went to court. The bankers in England paid $180,000 to get Lincoln assassinated, and it went to court. That's fact. The bankers paid. It's fact. It's in history books. You'll have to buy them though, because they're not in the schools, okay? We mustn't say anything about the money mafia. That's what Hellier calls them. So the Serbian assassin, yeah. World War II, as I just said, he was set up by the bankers at Versailles, and that's according to Maynard Keynes. And Poland said, this was way back then, 1939, Poland wants war with Germany, and Germany will not be able to avoid it, even if she wanted to. And his name was Rebus, Marshal of Poland, July 1939, okay? And Churchill, I'll just quote him. Where have I got that one now? Oh, and Churchill, of course, let Stalin control Europe. He knew Stalin was a mass murderer, but they worked with Stalin so that the Soviet Union could get more land, okay? So communism was set up by Wall Street. And at the end of it all, Churchill says, we've slaughtered the wrong pig. When he heard about all the 60 million dead in the so-called Bolshevik Revolution, that's what he said. But I think, and you have it in your papers, but he said before the Second World War started, he said, it has nothing to do, he said it has to do with trade. Germany's taking all our trade, they make better things, they're cheaper. We tried to get rid of them in the First World War, they're back, now we have to get rid of them again. And he even wrote a letter to Hitler at one point saying, I hope if England is, because when Germany, everyone was starving in the streets, and then what Hitler did was he said to them, I'm not using your bank, we're printing our own money. Within 4 years, everyone in Germany had a home, it was booming, they built the Autobahn, they invented the Volkswagen. I mean, this is the beginning of it all.